Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the Immortal Thor issue 16, 2023. Alright, that's kind of crazy there. We got Radioactive Man, we got Dario Auger shooting at a Thor poster there. That's kind of nutty. And kind of works into what we see happen in this issue. So, let's crack into this. Start off with our quote. Fire I see burning, and the earth blazing. Many will have their lives to save. From the Lay of Hyndla, the elder Edis of Saemund Sigfusson. Ooh. And we start off kind of interestingly here, talking about gods in the kind of context of superheroes. Would you know more? Then sit with me around the secret fire to hear the magic words. Once upon a time, there were 10 great realms, and a vast tree that was everything. And the realm of iron was called Midgard, a land of mortals and mayflies where meaning was hard found, easy ignored, and more precious than a diamond. But a land that had known gods, some ancient as the rock itself, some born to newer ages, newer cycles. Yes. The wheel turned. Old patterns saw their time again and again. The first of the gods was a man of fire. Of course, the original Human Torch, the android. It's like, ooh. But then we shift. Dr. Chen Lu. That's me. I'm Dr. Chen Lu. I take it you're my driver? You're... Yes, I am that Dr. Chen Lu, the radioactive man, a man of fire. It's interesting that we're like, okay, this one's a different one. Would you mind? I brought a few personal effects in case of a long stay. Is it safe to? All diplomatic niceties have been attended to, I assure you. Relations between our countries notwithstanding. As an ex-Thunderbolt, one of our saviors during the Skrull invasion, God, if you're still kind of harping on that kind of thing, I am permitted a certain leeway, not to mention that your employer understands what leverage to use and where. Ah, you meant the glow. Do not fear, it means I'm modulating my emissions in the harmless light. Okay, what if you stop glowing? Then you're already dead, so either way, it's useless worrying. Fuck you, man! Now, I have a question of my own. Your employer said there would be 4 of us. Who are the other 3? In Midgard, a new pantheon was forming. That is not good. But I like how that kind of set up the kind of backstory of Radioactive Man. It's like, ooh, okay, I'm not that well versed, but that was pretty effective. Especially with like a chauffeur that's like, are you gonna fucking kill me? But in the golden realm of Asgard, Thor only had thoughts for the old. And then we see this nice, that's really beautiful. I love the cosmos and the Bifrost there. The Rainbow Bridge, our link to the mortal realm, our shining promise to humanity. I still recall the moment I broke it, Sif. It was Loki who mended what my hands tore asunder. At what price, I still know not. And how do I repay my sibling? By sending them away from this realm and from my sight as punishment for mischief. Yet when the enchantress makes her mischief, attacks me, ensorcels me, frames me for murder, how do I repay her? By considering the justice of her request. Yeah, but the thing is, you have to understand what's kind of going on there. I mean, Loki bringing in other people outside of, like, what you would think about would be going on with your trials and tribulations. Yeah, though granted, you should be going off on Enchantress as well. And what is she requesting this time? That I make right what I have done wrong. She lost her son, Eirik, because of my failure as Asgard's king, because I was not there when Eirik needed me. And neither was she. It's like, very good points of... And I really like the difference of how the paneling works out, where we've got the kind of big shot and it just overlays like this. Neither was I when my brother died. Yeah, you don't think I'd have been at Heimdall's side if I could have, but we cannot be everywhere at once, Thor. We're none of us that kind of god. You speak of duty of kin, Sif. What then of the Allfather's duty? Do I not bear a parent's responsibility to all Asgard? Odin knew it. For all his stubborn rages and sly games, his first thought was ever of the realm eternal. I could argue with that a little bit, but I think he's mostly right. Odin does stupid shit. and more than once, noble Freya sacrificed all for Asgard's good. How then do I measure? Only I can judge that, and I must judge it sternly. True, I suppose you must. Every king should have his luxuries, but I do like how Sif's like, he's like, what? Luxuries? What else would you call wallowing in a tragedy you could not foresee and cannot repair? Resolve to do better in the future, if you wish, but you cannot undo what is now done. Can I not? Young Eirik died in battle. He resides now in Valhalla. 'Tis in my power to grant him a reprieve from that hall. From the eternal reward, will he thank you, Thor? But I liked how Sif was like, yeah, you can just wallow in it and whatnot, but she's not telling him to forget it. Understand it and do better in the future. Yep. And him kind of like going through and trying to think what would happen. And will the other Enherjar not then petition you for their own day among the living? What then? Will you blow the great Yallarhorn and summon the dead for every grieving mother, or only for one? And it is only a reprieve, Thor. You are not your father. You only command the door. You did not build the hall. You cannot bring him back. Aye. There are forces to which even a god must bow. It's like, yeah. Thor cannot give Enchantress her son back. There's no kind of fixing that. You and Amora have much in common. You each hide many things beneath the surface you would show the world. But she is as much a player of games as Loki. Very true. As ever, Sif, there's wisdom in thy words. So what is she trying to do, actually? And I will think on them further as I make my journey to Midgard. You did seem dressed for an adventure. Is that your new belt I see about you? Yolgjord, you called it? The Belt of Endurance? Aye, it should proof me against the scald spell Amara casts that saps my wits when I am among mortals. With my true wits about me, I may begin clearing my name. And if the mortals will not let it be cleared, Thor, what then? Thor had no words for Lady Sif, for he would only know the true answer to her question when put to the test. True, as we see him flying off with his belt and his axe and his hammer. That's just really cool there. I've really been digging the art. And the test was now upon him. To most, a rainbow upon a clear day would be naught but a charming oddity. But there were those on Midgard who know the truth of such an omen, that it heralded the arrival of Thor. And where those same mortals would once have responded with joy to visit from their hero, now Thor beheld only fear. The faces of the crowd bid fair to break break his mighty heart. And then Thor could read auguries of greater trouble, for he knew that Midgard's authorities would likewise be watching for the signs of his coming, and they too would no longer be his friends. Freeze! As I really like this, showing him come down and seeing everybody kind of like scatter. It's like, no. And then we get into like this nutty ass situation, and Thor handles it pretty reasonably at first, but then everything kind of starts going haywire. Thor Odinson, you're under arrest. We need heavy backup to the financial district. Over. Hulkbusters, everything you got. I understand. Only lower thy weapon, officer. The bullet will not pierce my skin, and there are innocents who may be harmed. Yeah, that's not going to do shit. You drop yours. Hammer on the ground. If I put it down, you will not be able to pick it up again. Would it not be easier if I brought it to the station? I will answer all of your questions there. I promise you. Oh, dear Thor. What? That sounds like you're resisting arrest. It's like, no, he's not going to put a fucking hammer down in the middle of the road that's going to just fuck with shit. As we see the radioactive man booming. That's actually a pretty really cool shot there. A chill ran through Thor's blood. He knew the radioactive man of old, and knew all that his power could do. Chen Lu? What business have you here, Doctor? Thunderbolt's business, of course. After all, we're the ones who deal with rogue heroes. Wait, ain't the Thunderbolt's emergency response now? Hawkeye runs them. The old Hawkeye. Nah, they got shut down. There was a new one that started up, I think. Yeah, that's of course referencing West Coast kind of Avengers, Thunderbolt things, I think. But then, of course, there's like so many different kind of other ones around, so I kind of actually like this exchange. The team name does create a degree of confusion. Most unfortunate. Here, my clearance. Sir, this card, it went out of date years ago. Yeah! You got nothing here. I'm gonna have to ask you to power down and let us handle this. That's quite alright, officers. Just give me a moment, I'll be more than happy to stop glowing. All that his power could do. And it's like, no, as we see that kind of menacing look, it's like, no. Nay. Hey, Perhaps it was a bluff, an empty threat. The radioactive man was not without a sense of morality. But if not, then every mortal in this place would meet a slow and hideous death. Let him go! I shall let him go. As we see him racking up the hammer and tossing him in the sky. And Mjolnir as well, as he just chucks and gets it to get Radioactive Man out of there. The God of Thunder could not take the risk, no matter how his actions seemed to other eyes. As predicted, Mr. Augur, Radioactive Man is mobile, headed south. My guess is Thor's taking this to Brooklyn. There are some abandoned buildings there that make good staging areas if you care about civilians. He should worry about himself. Ready on Chen's signal, gentlemen. Where he goes, Thor will follow. When possible, Thor preferred to fly with Mjolnir's aid, but as a sky god, he was not without his resources. As we see, again, I love how the paneling's done here. Most of the cases, you can barely tell that it just like blends in very well with what's kind of going on, and just minimal borders. Stormwinds, bear me hence. Get back here. Too late, he's gone. Still, I guess now we know for sure Thor's gone bad. It's like, you can attempt to make that assumption, but alright. Chen knew that played that most cunningly. He knew I would catch his hidden threat against the mortals. Indeed, 'twas for my ears alone, and as a result I am made to seem the villain, and he the hero. Not an auspicious start, Thor, but 'tis the why of it that concerns me most. Did he see in my troubles the chance to humble me for past defeats? Part of me hopes so, because the alternative is that he does not work alone. Mjolnir, to me, the hammer has sent him far enough. Gravity will now carry him the rest of the way, to the battleground of my choosing. As we see that Thor gets Mjolnir back, and Radioactive Man gets thumped into a building. Still glowing, Doctor? 'Tis well for thee, for if you had endangered my mortal friends, 'twould arouse my ire. But as things stand, I will offer you a chance. Surrender. You like the glow, do you? Here then, a closer look, as he then blasts Thor with radioactive rays. You seek to blind me, villain? It keeps my head on my shoulders a moment longer, and the radiation signature doubles as a marker of sorts. That's actually pretty smart. Matter translocation is much less risky if there's something to home in on. Translocation. Thor knew the word from his time as an Avenger, a form of teleportation, too perilous for most, but those willing to brave the dangers could reach anywhere. Midgard now had a rainbow bridge of its own, but who, as we see, saboosh! It's like, oh god. Hail, hail, the gang's all here! As we just see smack punching out for Thor. It's like, no, the Cobra and Mr. Hyde, you settled your differences then. I'll forgive any man who comes out of a well-earned retirement to free me from the madhouse. Ravencroft, do I look mad to you, sir? Hardly. Why, I am the very model of calm. It's like, as he's going around punching a thunder god. Yeah. He is stronger than when I met him last, and faster. Some new, titeration of his transformative elixir, no doubt. Titration? Let me look at that real quick. Learned a new word. A method or process of determining the concentration of a dissolved substance in terms of the smallest amount of reagent of known concentration required to bring about a given effect in reaction with a known volume of the test solution. Cool. That's kind of stuff that I've normally been seeing in Fantastic Four. It's cool for that to help out. I can match him still, but that was always the trap with these two. Hyde keeps me busy while Cobra strikes. Voorhees! I'm not your blasted, Charabank. Bus kind of thing. Just getting the proper elevation, Calvin, as we see them double teaming against him. Remember this, Thor? My Cobra gas? Aye, a choking poison that stings even a god's eyes. But it keeps my foes back as well. And 'twill take but a single moment to summon the winds and blow these vapors hence. A thing I have learned about stone, mon ami, is choking gas, it does not need to breathe. But sometimes a single moment, as we see a hand coming at Thor, it's like, no! Is a moment too long. as you are now learning, as we see Thor turned to stone by the Grey Gargoyle. It's like, no! Excellent work, Grey Gargoyle. I see your stone touches as potent as ever. It's not. What? Something's wrong. I love his kind of look of shock and confusion as we go to regular kind of paneling. Something's wrong. That belt of his. It isn't changing. It's resisting my power. I can feel it. It's taking all I have to keep him like this, And how is that our problem exactly? It is woo-foo. My stone spell lasts an hour. That is what we planned for. But now, if I let go my hand, he will revert back from stone in perhaps a minute, perhaps even less. Less than a minute, you say? I'll ask again, old fellow. How is that our problem? As we then get the cliffhanger as Mr. Hyde smashes Thor apart. We see the belt and the axe flying, fire and stone. It's like, no! It's like, damn it! Now we just gotta wait for the next one. The gods of Midgard rise. 4 new gods walk the earth, called by Thor's foes to be his death. A man of fire, a man of stone, a beast of wrath, and a trickster serpent. All had reason to hate the Thunder God, and working together they had the power to end an All-Father's reign. This is the story of the Immortal Thor and what broke him at last. Shit. And there's Alligator Loki as well. And don't miss the newest season of the Misadventures of Thor, Loki, Throg, and Alligator of Mischief. Alligator Loki Season 4 is now available on the Marvel Unlimited app. Woo. So, I really enjoyed this because this was interesting to have these kind of crazier, old school, kind of jokish kind of villains put together in such a serious kind of scenario where Thor is very much in trouble and has been blasted apart. I do like what we got in the beginning of our introduction into Radioactive Man, just to give us a kind of lore upkeep of what's kind of been going on. And I love how it was interwoven within the story, especially when he was like calling himself a Thunderbolt, and the police were like, "What the fuck's going on with this? This is out of date, man. What the fuck are you talking about?" And seeing that Thor is trying to clear his name, trying to take care of all this stuff, I loved the conversation with him and Sif giving him actually very good advice and being like, listen, you can't wallow in this, you couldn't foresee this, you couldn't stop this, you need to resolve to do better, and you can't, like, just bring him out, and what are you going to do with the rest of those that live in Valhalla? You are going to create a completely and utterly crazy situation. You weren't there, the Enchantress wasn't there, there's got to be some other kind of amiable way to kind of do this. And it's like, okay, what is the Enchantress's, Amora's actual objectives if it's not to get her son back? We'll have to see about that. But now we have Thor pretty much broken apart, dealing with Dario Auger pretty much going after Thor even more so. But I don't know, like, granted, Thor has been thorn in his side for a while. I don't know if this is more to kind of like bring him more into the forefront, because her objective seems to need to precipitate that Thor's alive for whatever kind of her schemes are going for. And of course we have Loki in the wind as well, and just because Loki's been banished from Asgard doesn't mean that Skald Loki can't be doing shit on Midgard and any kind of the other realms either. So Thor's got a lot, there's a lot of interesting moving parts, and I loved kind of seeing Thor kind of trying to wrestle with the fact of being All-Father and what that means. Should he bring Eirik back? Should he not? What should he do to be better? I love him talking and trying to think about these big questions of what it means to be the king and be All-Father of Asgard and of all these realms. And him, this being taken seriously. So I want to see what kind of goes out. This was actually a pretty effective cliffhanger, and I cannot wait for the next issue. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.